Our chief reporter, Kaveh Solokol, has come back on set. Kaveh, oh my goodness. How do you react to that?
Well, look, the first thing you should say is that referees are human beings. They make mistakes like everybody else. They were working there in a very highly pressurised environment, and they made a mistake, and it was a big mistake.
Controversy and outrage once again took centre stage in one of football's fiercest modern rivalries, as Arsenal were left incensed after a highly questionable offside decision handed Manchester City a decisive advantage. In a fixture that was billed as a clash of tactical intelligence, elite talent, and title-defining stakes, it was officiating rather than footballing brilliance that ultimately stole the spotlight. From the very first whistle, the match carried the weight of expectation. Arsenal came out sharp, aggressive, and purposeful, pressing high up the pitch and forcing mistakes from a City side not often rattled. Their movement was fluid, their passing crisp, and their intent clear. This was a team ready to challenge not just for 3 points, but for supremacy. On the other side, Manchester City, under the meticulous guidance of Pep Guardiola, remained composed, circulating the ball patiently and waiting for openings to emerge. The first half unfolded as a chess match, each side probing, adjusting, and attempting to impose their rhythm. Chances came and went, but neither team managed to assert full control. It was a contest defined by discipline and structure, with both defenses holding firm under pressure. Yet beneath the surface, there was an underlying tension, a sense that one moment one decision could tilt the balance irreversibly. That moment arrived in the second half, and it brought with it a storm of controversy. A perfectly weighted pass split through Arsenal's defensive line, releasing a City attacker into what initially appeared to be a dangerous but questionable position. Instantly, Arsenal's backline stepped up, arms raised, appealing for offside. To the naked eye, the attacker looked beyond the last defender, gaining a clear positional advantage. Yet, astonishingly, the assistant referee's flag remained down. Play continued. The attacker kept his composure and finished clinically, sending the ball past the goalkeeper and into the net. For a split second, there was hesitation. Players looked toward the officials, fans held their breath, and uncertainty gripped the stadium. Then came the inevitable pause as the decision was referred to video assistant referee (VAR). This was the system designed to eliminate errors like this. This was the safeguard meant to ensure fairness in the game's most critical moments. But what followed only deepened the controversy. Replays from multiple angles appeared to confirm what Arsenal players had immediately protested: the City attacker was offside. His positioning, even by the tightest margins, seemed to place him ahead of the defensive line at the moment the ball was played. Fans watching on screens, pundits analyzing in real time, and players on the pitch all seemed to reach the same conclusion. And yet, after a tense and drawn-out review, the decision was made, goal awarded. Disbelief swept through Arsenal. Players surrounded the referee, their protests fueled by frustration and confusion. On the touchline, the reaction was equally animated, with visible anger directed toward the officials and the VAR process itself. For supporters, both inside the stadium and around the world, it felt like a crushing injustice, another moment where technology had failed to deliver clarity. The issue wasn't merely that a goal had been given, it was the manner in which it was allowed to stand. The lack of transparency in how the decision was reached only added to the outrage. Were the correct angles used? Were the lines drawn accurately? Was there hesitation to overturn the on-field decision? Despite clear evidence, these questions lingered, unanswered. For Manchester City, the goal shifted the momentum instantly. Confidence surged through their ranks as they tightened control of possession, dictating the tempo and forcing Arsenal into a reactive stance. For the Gunners, the psychological blow was immense. What had been a composed and disciplined performance began to unravel under the weight of frustration. Football, at its core, is a game of moments. And when those moments are defined not by skill or brilliance but by contentious decisions, the integrity of the contest is called into question. This incident also reignites the broader debate surrounding VAR. Introduced with the promise of accuracy and fairness, it has instead become a frequent source of division. While it has corrected many errors, it has also introduced new layers of confusion, particularly in offside decisions where millimeters can determine outcomes. In theory, VAR operates on the principle of clear and obvious errors. In practice, however, the interpretation of that standard appears inconsistent. Situations that seem obvious to players and fans are sometimes deemed inconclusive by officials, leading to decisions that feel detached from the reality on the pitch. For Arsenal, this moment adds to a growing narrative of frustration. High-stakes matches often hinge on fine margins, and when those margins are influenced by controversial officiating, the consequences can be profound. Points dropped in such circumstances can shape the trajectory of an entire season, impacting title races, European qualification, and overall morale. Critics will argue that football has always been subject to human error, that controversy is part of the game's fabric. But the introduction of VAR was meant to minimize precisely these kinds of incidents. When it fails to do so, especially in such a glaring situation, it invites scrutiny not just of individual decisions, but of the system as a whole. As the final whistle blew, the sense of injustice lingered. For Arsenal, it was not just a defeat or a missed opportunity, it was a result overshadowed by controversy. For Manchester City, it was another step forward, albeit one clouded by debate. Beyond the immediate fallout, this incident will echo throughout the footballing world. It will be analyzed on sports shows, debated endlessly among fans, and cited as yet another example of VAR's inconsistency. More importantly, it will continue to fuel calls for greater transparency, improved technology, and clearer communication in officiating. Because at the highest level of the game, where margins are razor-thin and stakes are immense, there is little room for doubt. Football deserves decisions that are not only correct, but convincingly so. Until that standard is consistently met, moments like this will continue to define matches, not for the brilliance of the players, but for the controversies that overshadow them. And for Arsenal, this will feel like yet another chapter in a frustrating narrative, one where, despite their efforts on the pitch, the outcome was shaped by forces beyond their control.